$6. I put How the fuck is a bill $6, bro? Cause now you gave me tight. I'm about to come back there and smack the shit out of you.
Okay. Hey guys, today this video is gonna be about it's just gonna be me essentially just like talking about generally about edits, what we're doing, like what actually is that we're doing, and I wanna introduce like some ideas to people because I see in a lot of spheres a lot of miscommunication, talking past one another, and generally, in my opinion, obviously all of this is my opinion, a fundamental misunderstanding of what it is you're doing. So in my head, as of right now, and the concept of editing, there's this dichotomy between like execution and meta. So but when someone says, "Oh, your basics suck," they're referring, or something along those lines, they're referring to these two things generally in vague ways. So execution is how well have the decisions you made served your goal and what you want to convey, what you want to do with your edits. Let's say you want your edit to be hype. A well executed hype edit would employ techniques such as, I don't know, interesting dynamic pacing, but I guess anyway, would do stuff like that in order to build tension, because that's hype. Would have a very real impactful shakes. Would have a distinct drop, stuff like that. That would be in service of make something that's hype. Somebody want to make something that's emotional, maybe sad. They would have a muted color palette. They would slow down, be a lot more linear, less dynamic pacing, etc., etc. Those are things that are in service. So execution is essentially just like the decisions you make in your edit and how well you do those things in service of a particular goal, aesthetic, mood, etc., etc. And then meta, or the validity of the validity of is the validity of said goal, of said thing you're trying to achieve. It's like, is what you're trying to do even good in the first place? And that's like a whole separate thing. So yeah, people talk about execution, is this shake, I don't know, for example, is this shake beneficial or detrimental for you trying to achieve said goal? So we can look at like like I said, yeah. Now it's not, and actually we can look at what's a good example? And then execution is about making the right choices, yeah. And from that, it's about executing the right choice correctly and doing these techniques properly in order to achieve said goal. Because they'll act correctly, or they'll have a general clear idea of what they want to do, of what mood they want to achieve. But then so they're like, so some people, they fail at picking the right techniques to use and what tools you leave at the table, right? So they've correctly identified that they want a hard shake here at the drop or the edit to create hype, right? But then they don't have to use shake. That's also part of execution. It's about so execution. It's really broad actually, but it will usually be so like how do I describe this? The ability for someone to execute something is also like a part of execution. It's about picking the correct things and being able to execute the things correctly. And then that's a little bit of a tangent. What does it mean to execute something correctly? So a lot of this is in reference to movement. When someone says basics, they're really talking about scene selection, pacing, and movement in general. Those are the basics, essentially excluding the effects as it's used in the editing community. So what did I say? I said movement. No, I said scene selection. Scene selection, pace, and movement. Scene selection. So again, yeah. So let's keep, or I guess because like emotional stuff is easier, like trying to evoke pathos. Okay. So your scenes should service that goal in terms of the basis. So we're trying to make a sad edit. we're trying to make someone feel to get in their feelings. Hashtag vent, yeah. What do? What scenes are we? Let's say we have Violet Evergarden, yeah. We got a scene. Let's imagine there's a nigga getting in one scene. There's a nigga getting gritty. In another scene, there's Violet crying her eyes out. What scene do we pick for the mood we're trying to achieve? We pick the latter. That's essentially kind of what that is. And then also, I guess tied into that. Now the problem is like all this is very contextual. Generally, part of scene selection is choosing appropriate scenes, and then also choosing a representative range of scenes, because an AMV is essentially like a trailer for the show. It's a condensed trailer or like a music video. And what do those two things have? They generally, to avoid boredom, because it's not really linear. I mean, sometimes it can be, and you can pull that off, but it's not the most effective, and it can drag on, can be boring. Anyway, generally, AMVs are trailers. Anime edits are trailers. They're basically like glorified trailers. So you generally want to pick a range of scenes that are representative of the entire show and that will convey the mood that the goal. Remember the goal from the beginning. Oh, I want to make someone feel emotional. That's the goal that we want. So your scene should be in service of that. So not only so in terms of like the subject matter of what's in the scene, and then also like the properties of the scene. So we talked about subject matter being like, oh, let's say the subject matter is Violet crying, right? The other properties of the scene, so like is it a close, medium, or far away shot? That's a bit of a simplification of what that is, but you gotta take those into consideration. Take that into consideration. You don't want to have close, and your edit feels claustrophobic unless that's what you're going for, unless that's your goal. But if your goal is to have something that's looks conventionally good and represents a broad range of the show, you generally want to have, medium, close, far. You want to mix it up. You want to have scenes that contain a lot of action, scenes that are kind of slow. But again, it's going to be all. But remember, and this is the thing that is really important, is that every decision you make, and it's not like, oh, you're not making a movie. You're making an anime edit. It's not like you need a team of niggas. Bow, bow, bow. Does this pixel line up here? Blah, 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 blah. That attention. It's not like this super in-depth thing. It's more like it should be like a guide of, not vague, and it will be but it should be a guiding principle. Nonetheless, it should be a guiding principle. So like, oh, like you put this down and you're like, does it really like fit what I'm trying to do? And if you struggle with this, write it down. Like let's say, imagine yourself as a person viewing this. What do you want that person to feel and get from the video you made? Right? Write that down. And then ask yourself, is this in service of the goal? Should I be slapping a fat cotton shake on top of Violet Evergarden crying? Probably not. And that's like anyway, so scene selection, bow. The content of the scene, you want to switch up, so I guess like auxiliary properties. I don't know, it sounds mad pretentious. Things like the movement of the camera, blah, blah, blah. You want to take that into consideration so as not to be repetitive. Scene selection. Just, also, a lot of anime, unfortunately, and this sounds, I guess, rude. A lot of scenes in anime look like shit. It's your job to take them out. The most, 6% of anime consists of two niggas just hazardly slap bang in the middle, to my knowledge, just talking to one another, and it looks like arse. Don't use that. There's a lot of people that they'll just like, you need to be deliberate and discriminatory in the type of scenes you use. It's really, it's not good. It's not a good look, bruv. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look like, you'll see it. You can tell instantaneously when someone is like cut out scenes beforehand, because they won't be including these flat, dry scenes of lip flapping. Don't do that. You don't want that. Anyway, I guess that's some just general things about scene selection. Pacing, and I guess that everything kind of goes hand to hand. So pacing, yeah, it's like we want to, again, in service of this goal, and the song and anime are also in service of this goal. We haven't talked about the song, music yet. But holy fuck, if you want something like, again, let's continue with it. We're making a sad Violet Evergarden edit. You want someone to be sad? Why the fuck are you editing Yi? Not to hate on Yi. Yi is hard, innit? My money, yeah, innit? Right. It's hard. It's real hard. But do you want to be hard right now? That's the question you need to ask yourself. So the music should be appropriate to the mood you're trying to convey. If you don't feel like how to describe it, it should be congruent. Like the same feelings you have listening to the music is the same feelings you want to evoke in the viewer watching your edit. So if you listen to Phoebe Bridgers and you feel like you're like, oh, like wow, I'm taken to this. I'm in the middle of Arkansas, drinking a Bud Light, but I'm depressed as well. That's the vibe you should be having in your edit if you're using that song, and vice versa. So yeah, so pacing. Anyway, your anime, your clips, the scene selection that you've deliberately chosen out to service that goal, the way that you lay them down should also fit that goal. So let's say you want to have a wow. It's like instead of just sad, you want to have it sad and dramatic, right? So we're gonna have, I don't know, in terms of like pacing, we're gonna put the scenes of things that are slightly obscured at the beginning. Gonna be like a slow build up, a rise in tension. We're not gonna have full blown action yet. We're gonna lay it down. We're gonna have like establishing shots. We're gonna have small details. We're gonna like slowly build a picture, and then we're gonna slap bang. I don't know. But what's a good example? An explosion. You know when Violet's in the fire, and Major's looking at her with the fucking M1 Garand in her hand. She's like stabbing these niggas. And a bow at the drop. The tension is building. It's like do bow. That's pacing. Now, it's really important that it's like it matches the song. So, there'll be times where it's like it'll be like a song. Oh, so I don't know. I guess I'm trying to put myself in like. So a beginner mistake would be like bow 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. I put clip here, clip there, clip there, clip there, clip there. Every 808, every hi-hat, I put a clip down. No, that's wrong and it's shit. You want your pacing, you think of it on a bigger scale. You want to like, I kind of divide it into chunks. I guess like choruses, there's like bridges, choruses, etc., etc. You want to vary your pacing on an individual level, on a scene by scene level. You want to vary what you're doing on a scene by scene level and on a like I guess part by sequence by sequence level. So like the beginning of your edit, like generally like it will be like the beginning of your edit will be slow, clips, the movement will be slow, blah blah blah, right? Then it will pick up, then it might dip down again if there's like they have I'm musically illiterate, so I don't really know the words for it, but like do. Then you want to slow down again, then you want to build it back up. That's just like these is generally this should be in your mind. Like when you're doing pacing, and you can do it as it's going, you can like do it as you edit. You can edit clip by clip, or you can lay all your clips down. It's up to you what you want to do. But so yeah, your pacing, it's like really important that that's not linear, unless you want like. But that's kind of like the beauty of it all. Any choice is valid as long as it's in service of your goal. And generally, when people say basics, it's in service of a kind of vague, generally agreed convention, like a meta of what people collectively imagine a good edit to be. And usually that involves broad scene selection as representative of the show as a whole, and dynamic and tension building pacing, right? But then there's leeway. But that's the problem. Like generally, people don't really have a clear understanding of what they're doing and what it's in service of. But yeah, pacing should be in service of your goal. And if your service of your goal and your goal is to build tension, your pacing should be dynamic and build tension. You should you should be like yeah. You listen, man. And if you don't know what any of this means, because I'm showing you visual aids and examples, Google tense movie scenes, how they paced. It's like you're seeing this, seeing that, you establish stuff. It's like you're gradually building, and then bow, payoff, explosion, drop, bow, bright colors, flashing, all of that. That's building tension, and that's one way. So pacing in service of that goal, dramatic, tense, Valagon, but we're still sad. Remember, we're still sad, so we don't want to have any scenes of these niggas smiling, unless that's generally, you know what I mean? Anyway, you get it. You're smart. What I say, movement. Okay, now movement. This is a big one. This is a fat one. So again, everything. You're the director. You're Martin Scorsese. Your movement should be again in service of your goal, your direction, what you're doing, right? What you're trying to convey. So, like I said at the beginning, your making a sad, dramatic violin ever got an edit. Why are we using cotton shakes? Put them down. Put them away. Unless it's at the drop. Listen, that's the choice moments in which you want to emphasize impact. Put them down. We don't need. We don't need 10 amplitude shakes at the beginning of the song. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit. It doesn't serve your goal, right? And you need to be more deliberate in what you're doing. So, yeah, use movement when you need to use movement. Sometimes it's good to not do anything. You can, I must say, yeah, you don't need to be moving all the time. It's not like a competition. In service of the specific goal we've established of a dramatic edit, and I guess into a little bit of like my understanding of theories that like how to describe this. Okay, so movement, basically, movement that is disconnected from actions on screen will always feel, if not done in subtle ways or within a realistic way a camera can actually move, someone's perspective can actually move. So I guess in slow ways or unmotivated by previous motion. So if you're just like zooming all over the place and the actual anime scene itself is static, what you're doing is you cannot, it will undermine a serious tone. If you want to make something that's grounded, it will not fit. It doesn't work. It takes away from that feeling because it's not grounded and then therefore it's not serious, essentially. So I mean, and then if you can't really get what I'm saying, think about it. So we look at like daddy edits, for example. Daddy edits are not serious. They can like it is antithetical to like the properties of of daddy edits for them to convey seriousness. Like think about it. In movies and stuff that you watch, TV shows, when stuff is really sad, someone is dying, somebody's crying, in like a down to earth way, the camera is usually barely moving, right? Or it's like a motivated move, motivated by things on screen, but like this sort of like zany wide angle, bow, 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 pan, pan, shoosh, shoosh, shoosh. It's not happening. You know, like imagine like, I don't know, I don't want to spoil any movie. What's something old? It's like, Luke, I am your father. And then the camera's like, zoom, 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 zoom. You start panning everywhere, every direction. X, Y, Z, B, G. Like it's Michael Bay. That would undermine the moment. And that's kind of that's what a lot of people do, unfortunately. When they're trying to convey something serious, they'll start, zoom, zoom, zoom. Swoosh this, swoosh that. No, don't do it. You can chill. Put the position down. Put the shake down. Don't move. Just chill. Relax. You're fine. Anyway, yeah. Movement should be congruent with the song, the anime, and the goal you're trying to achieve. That goal is the most important thing. So, you've stopped zooming all over the place when you're trying to make people sad. Good. That's the first step. Then, you now need to choose appropriate parts of your edit in which you need to use movement. So again, I said the drop. Movement can be used to like direct the viewer's eye. You can slightly pan towards something, blah blah blah. You can slide, general stuff, but it should. Oh, and also, like I said back when we were talking about pacing, you have certain like parts of the song, like let's say you have like a chorus, right? Pardon me. It's gonna be a lot more appropriate to like have general movement. So like during that period of time. So like yeah, your movement in like blocks can contrast one another, and that can be effective in distinguishing them apart, and then therefore creating a more dynamic edit. Yeah. I think also when we talk about like when people talk about basics, they're talking about those things. And then what else? I was gonna say that I had mentioned unmotivated movement, and unmotivated movement is when there is nothing on screen that because basically. When you're doing something grounded, I'm gonna touch on like fun or stuff later. But when you're doing something grounded, movement should accent the subject of scenes going on. So if your scene is still, if it's still and nothing's happening, there is no momentum to motivate your movement, and therefore, unless for a very specific reason, ideally you should not be like zooming all over the place. and even within that, to execute a good slide, it's the worst two things. It I generally, and again, these can all be broken or played with depending on your goal is. But we're talking on what is conventionally good. When someone says basics, your basics are bad. What is conventionally good? Ideally, you want non-linear movement that builds momentum, that has momentum that leads into said movement. I don't know if you want to see a good example. Look at Dylan. Look at Dylan's at this. There you go. Because I can't be asked. But yeah, I'd hazard a guess that he has the best movement. You know, I'm sure boing and that nigga. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, movement. So if you have a still scene and you just randomly like just start sliding, you start like boom, you're moving in the X direction. That's generally bad. Why? Because it takes the viewer out of the experience, and nothing is there, so it feels awkward. Like I'm gonna link the 12 rules of animation, and these rules can definitely be applied to your edits. It's really important to, I guess, like know theory of what to kind of have a greater theoretical understanding of what you're doing, and sit down and be like, why am I doing this? That's a big thing as well. But yeah, I know it's kind of all over the place, but yeah, your movement shouldn't be unmotivated. You should and let's say if a scene is relatively still, there are things you can do to like motivate movement. If you want to have movement in the sequence you're doing, but you want to add particles, add things in the background that are moving that can motivate said movement. You know, it can be particles, it can be keying. You can key stuff out, or you can like dim. You can dim the screen. You can have motion graphic elements. There's lots of different ways you can basically VFX can carry your movement, but the like best flowing things will have the scene, the source material, and what you've added in like work in tandem to like motivate movement. And that's when it will like it's all starting to click. It's like, wow, this is very satisfying to watch when all these kind of elements come together to motivate your movement, because your movement ideally should accent what you're doing. Now, there are like cases, like I said, daddy edits. There are cases in which like your movement can be unmotivated and disconnected. Generally, it's not the best, but if you're doing something that's like sort of abstract, if you've set up like a grand thing, you can pan back, and you can start like moving. A good example is like if you're doing something abstract or surreal or not grounded. A good example is Everything Is in Its Right Place by Dubstepkin. That's a good example of where unmotivated movement is actually I would say more appropriate, but it's an appropriate choice for what the goal he had in that edit. Yeah, movement. Movement. Pick and choose when to use movement. Make sure you use that tool. Don't pick up a hammer when you're trying to water a flower. Generally in conventionally, your movement should not be linear and should have an ease in and ease out, and it should be motivated by either the subject of the scene that you're editing or the VFX you've added on top. Ideally both. Yeah, I'm thinking. Oh, yeah. I think that's it. Fuck. I hope I don't forget anything. But yeah, so that's execution. That's basics. Oh, I guess like shake comes under movement. Shake is to again accent movements. So it's to like, if you have if we speed up, we ramp up in our time, ramp up velocity, ramp up in time remap, and there's a lot of stuff like moving. Shake will, I guess, help accent that movement. It helps because, in real life, if like things are zooming past, I don't know, like watch like Man of Steel, that cameraman is all over the place. He's jolting. Yeah, that's Shake is essentially jolt. That coincides with like fast or major movements. So you shake accordingly. Shake can also be subtle. It can be for like specific aesthetic choices. You want an old camera refill, you have subtle jittery shake, etc. You want to build tension. That's another way to do it. That's another technique that you can use to employ that. Anyway, so that's generally execution. It's what you do and how well you're doing it. in service of what? The goal. The goal, number one thing, the aesthetic, the emotional, just the general vibe of that you want to convey with your edit, what you're doing, is and then, yeah, how well that serves that goal. Execution. Now, I said meta at the beginning of the video, and I know that we've had some troubles with that word before. Anyway, meta. So like, and I say that in like in the context like metatextual. That's how I'm using that word. Yeah. How valid is that goal? Now, this is where like you can come across as like pretentious, annoying, a hater, and then it's like true to yourself. Like a lot of things go into like it's like, why am I doing this? What do I even want to do? That's a question that I've seen to I can ask people. Like again, I'll go back to this thing about ops, miscommunication. Someone will ask me for ops, you'll be like, yo, Raheem, how do I can you give me ops my edit? And it's like, okay, what are you going for? And they're like, and that's that. You fucked up. You messed up already. You scrap it. You fucked it. You go delete the project file, delete the clips, delete the song, delete your computer. You fucked up already. If you can't clearly articulate a mood or vibe, you already messed up. Because what you're gonna communicate to somebody else is like that. I don't really know. Like it could be that's the same vibe you're gonna give to somebody else. It's communication. That's the same thing you're digitally transmitting that to somebody. That vagueness, that nothingness. That's what you're putting on the screen. So have a clear goal. Have a clear goal. Anyway, so yeah, someone asked for ops and it's like, oh, this is good. And I was like, good for what? And they're like, what do you mean for what? And it's like, for your goal. And that goal. So it's like, yeah. And then validity of that goal. Yeah. So in like a lot of people, I guess like the way we phrase it, a common phrase is like, I want to translate what's in my head onto the screen. And if what is in somebody's head is a 240p video of BitCrush, Gojo, Satoru, where your camera is moving up, down, left, right, like a fucking like a robot in a factory, with random shake to like Megan Thee Stallion, and that's exactly what you imagine in your head, and then you put exactly that's what you see in your head, and you put on the screen. That's perfect execution. And then that's where like that's where this like disconnect happens. So basically basics here is in service of a goal, and some people will project what they think someone's goal is onto someone else, and that's where the miscommunication happens. So like somebody can be like, oh, this is shit, and it's like, well, no, I don't think this is shit. This is what I want. And what instead of, they're not saying that you're shit. Well, generally it does. Like generally bad execution coincides, but generally bad execution will correlate with with I guess superficial goals, with superficial like aesthetic or stuff that you want to convey. Generally bad execution will like coincide with that. But let's say that like you have that, in my opinion, superficial goal, like you want to make like a just blah 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 blah, like a throwaway edit, right? When people say your execution is shit, in that context, they're actually saying that your goal is shit. This is the meta conversation, and it's up to you. It's up to people generally as to like what they actually want to do. You need to have a clear understanding in your mind what it is you want to do, and if you ever ask for opinions or for someone to comment, you need to bring them into the director's room. You need to tell them what you actually want to achieve, instead of like, oh, I want it to be a good edit. That's a non-descriptor. Good edits can be anything. You want to speak in language more of the effect of what you're doing. I want to make a edit that makes people upset. I want to make an edit that makes people hype. I want to make an edit that, I want to make an edit to Phoebe Bridgers that makes someone feel like we're in Arkansas in the middle of a National Reserve trail. I'm drinking Bud Light. I'm crying. That's like, the more specific you get with the vibe, the better you are at articulating what it is you want to convey or communicate. The the greater the ability of the person you're talking to will be able to help you achieve said goal. And that's what I mean. It's not like, oh, you need to, you like your general understanding of like what editing is like, or what art is in general is, I want to like achieve a goal, because niggas is lost. You're directing, and it's like having a clear, and it doesn't have to be like, and again, like I said during the execution thing, it doesn't have to be the most clear thing in the world, because emotions are complex. Hype is complex, you know. Any like all these things are infinitely complex and cannot. They exist in like a metaphysical space where we don't fully have a grasp of our emotions or we're doing, but we want to be. But like, the point of art is essentially like to channel it as much as possible as you can, ideally. So yeah, meta. So me personally, I'm not a big fan of daddy edits. I'm not daddy. I'm not a jogger. I don't like when niggas jog. I'm like do 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 do, bow bow bow, same shake. So then you gotta ask yourself, is what I'm doing really what I want to be doing? And again, in your head, and again, a lot of people conflate the two, but it's like, and then a lot of people, a lot of people will also use like the meta element as an excuse for poor execution, when really they know that they're not achieving the goal they set out to do. So it's like a good example is like, I guess not to, I don't want to be too specific, I don't want to be that kind of rude, but like people, what's a good example? I guess like, if you make an edit, yeah, I could use myself, because I failed at in certain aspects of the past all the time. You know, all my edits are full of loads of mistakes. But yeah, let's say I want to make, like, if someone makes an edit and it's generally sad, I don't know, that's like the only thing on my mind. Anyway, it's generally sad, yeah, and like they've picked, I don't know, like Anohana. Pardon me. They picked Anohana, and you know, the CC's like desaturated. Why did I say CC? The color grade is desaturated. Remember the lost tutorial. You know, it's dark. You know, dark song, blah 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 blah, all of that, all the stuff that would achieve that goal. But then like they throw in like a daddy fucking shake in like the middle when there's like no reason to, and they're like, oh, that's just what I wanted to do. Like, no, who you fooling? Like, or they'll be like, why you trying so hard? No, sharp nigga, you fucked up. That's okay. You know, you do fuck up. That happens. That, you know, that's part of it. You know, that's part of the process. And it's about like refining what you're doing to achieve the goals you want to achieve. And again, if it doesn't have to be lofty, it doesn't have to be a lofty goal. If you want to make daddy edits, make the best daddy edits you can. If you want to make someone dust off the Gojo from Jujutsu Kaisen, do that the best way possible. Make them daddy shakes. Make that slide over the screen. Do that. But don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to yourself. Because at the end of the day, you're impressing nobody. Or you're impressed like, you're not doing it like, if you're stuck in a rut and you're like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Don't lie to yourself. What is it that you actually want to do? It can be you want to make a different, maybe you want to do something else in terms of anime edits. Maybe you don't even want to edit anime at all. You know, but yeah, I think the biggest takeaway, the biggest thing I want to say is that like, when you're doing something in your edit, please ask yourself why. That's the big question. Ask yourself why. What is it I'm actually doing? Why? Why is this shake here? What does it do? What am I doing this for? And then do that. Look at that. And you will, one, you will like, you'll be less frustrated. And two, your edits will probably get better. Your life will probably get better, you know? Anyway, yeah. I think that's all I have to really say about basics and execution. Yeah. And you know what? You know what's crazy? It's two things there. One, not two things. I don't even know. Yeah. Crazy, yeah, that like, all the things I'm saying, maybe I'm chatting out my ass, because maybe I have like a fucking real rudimentary understanding of this stuff myself. Maybe there's somebody out there that can articulate it better than me. But generally within the community, I see a lot of confusion, a lot of lost souls, like this baby Keem. So yeah, ask yourself why. I think that's all. And give me money on PayHip. Thank you very much.